to be here. I want to thank again Cousin Lopez, the Central Market, Bakery, all the folks that helped put this on, the Downtown Improvement District. What a great organization. I'm glad that I have some of my staff is very involved to keep my interests front and center, because the downtown is so important. It's important to me, I know it's important to all of you. Gentlemen, why don't you have a seat? I'm going to go over just a couple of quick ground rules. Folks, would you please take care of your telephones? You all know the drill. We don't want to have a lot of telephone ringing, interrupting things. We're going to try and hold our applause, please, until we get to break points after we get through each question. We've got 5 questions we're going to put to each of the candidates. I have to tell you that the format is still a little bit rough. We're going to try and work our way through it. I think the way we're going to do this is we're going to start with one end of the panel and start with a question. They've all been given the questions in advance, and give 2 minutes to give it a statement about that. And then we'll move down and each person will have 1 minute to rebut. And then we'll do 2 minutes on the same question, and then each person will have 1 minute to rebut. And then the third person will have his 2 minutes, and the other 2 will have 2 minutes to rebut. So each question will be thoroughly vetted. We've got a whole hour. It really isn't all that long, but I think if we do it that way, the 5 questions, we'll get through it in an hour. So if you would hold your applause, please, until we get through with every question. And that gives us the time that we need for the gentlemen to actually tell you what they think and give you a chance to understand where they're coming from on each one of these questions. The questions will be posted here on the wall. So those of you that are on the far side, if you can see it, you can see it. But I will read the question to them to begin with, and then they'll just follow through. Let's start with 2 minutes each to introduce themselves, and let's start at the far end. I want to make sure I see who everybody is. Mr. Sepulveda.
Thank you so much.
Is it on?
Yeah?
There you go.
All right, well, first off, thank you so much for this debate. I really appreciate being here tonight. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Armando Sepulveda, and I want to be your next mayor. And you know, I'm a lifetime resident here of Oxnard. I went to Hueneme High School. I graduated from Cal Lutheran with a degree in business administration. And I worked for Fortune 500 companies for the last 20 years. And part of my job working for these companies was to help underperforming stores, underperforming districts, areas that needed to drive revenue, understand cost control. And what makes me a little bit more unique than some of the other candidates is that I have that business background. I understand what it takes to drive revenue and to develop businesses. Part of my jobs as I was working with those companies was to help identify locations to establish new businesses, opening up new stores. And I will tell you that it is a complicated process. You all know how complicated it is. As a business, you get turned off if you're not able to get the permits that you need in the right zoning. And I had an opportunity to deal with that. I had an opportunity to sit in some city council meetings, mainly in the LA area and the Valley, where we're opening up new locations up in Pasadena, etc., and really experience what it is from both sides. And I had the chance to see that and be part of it. So I feel that I'm qualified to help drive the city where it needs to be. I manage those budgets in excess of $300 to $400 million, and I want to do the same. I want to be successful here for the city of Oxnard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sepulveda. Let's hold our applause. Let's hold on, folks. We're going to get through all of it. Mr. Lopez.
Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? Good, good. Thank you so much for joining us here today. My name is Miguel Lopez, for those that I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet. I want to tell you that I've grown with the city of Oxnard for the past 35 years. I've seen and experienced firsthand many of the challenges that our city has confronted over the last 3 decades. And to that end, I'll tell you that I was tremendously blessed to also grow up in a stronger, more vibrant, more prosperous time. For me, I also had the opportunity to graduate, go to UC Santa Barbara, where I completed my undergraduate degree, before getting some professional experience, also in a Fortune 500 company, and then actually going back to school to pursue what was my PhD in higher education and organizational change from UCLA. All of that prepared me for one opportunity. There was one opportunity for folks throughout the entire country, and that was for a leadership training opportunity with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute. That took me to the nation's capital, where I had the opportunity to work at the highest levels of government. And I'll tell you that it also gave me the opportunity to experience dysfunction at the highest levels of government. I learned a lot while I was out there, and quite frankly, I came back to one of the most difficult positions in the entire city 3 years ago, and that was working with the Oxnard Police Department. I'll tell you that I didn't have any law enforcement background, but what I did have was something that I think the chiefs very much appreciated, which was a high-quality education, experience in public outreach, and public engagement. We were able to navigate some of the most difficult times, not only in the history of the Oxnard Police Department, but quite frankly, the entire community. Let me tell you why I'm running for mayor. I'm running for mayor to prioritize public safety once again, 2, to invest in economic development for our community, and 3, to restore what is trust and leadership in the office of the mayor and throughout City Hall. So I hope to earn your vote of confidence and then your vote come November 8th. And once again, thank you so much.
Mr. Lopez, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Flynn.
First of all, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much to Casa Lopez and Mr. Francis and the downtown PBED for sponsoring this forum. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to meet the mayoral candidates as well as the candidates for City Council. What that tells me is that each and every person in this room believes in Oxnard. And you believe, as I do, that Oxnard, when it comes to its neighborhoods, streets, the downtown, economic opportunity, that Oxnard has more potential than any city in Ventura County. There are 10 cities in Ventura County. We have a quarter of the county's population. And I like to think, as your mayor for the last 4 years, that we've taken the city from a position where financially huge mistakes were made. As we know from the DA investigation 6 years ago, money was misappropriated. And the fact of the matter is that that led most recently to the city's credit rating being downgraded to a negative. And just 2 days ago, the city's credit rating was upgraded to stable. 2 years ago, half the residential streets in Oxnard had not been paved. Today, we're on schedule to pave every residential street that has not been paved in the city of Oxnard. Several years ago, we had decision-making at a level where even the city council, even the auditors that audited the city's books did not catch the deception and the hiding of what the city's financial situation was with the public. And in a short 2 years, every single department head has been replaced. We got a leader, Greg Nyhoff, who I support 100%, who has brought this city from the brink of financial ruin to where it is today. I'm seeking another term as mayor, and I'm asking you for your support so that we can renew our focus on Oxnard neighborhoods and on quality of life. Many of you have watched city council meetings. I'm obsessed with quality of life, especially in neighborhoods. And finally, it's about jobs and the downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. All right, now everybody applaud. Thank you all. All right, so now we'll start with the questions, and I may have to experiment a little bit with how this process goes. We started tonight with 11 candidates, and so we had to keep things moving quite quickly. We have a little bit more luxury of time at the moment. Let's see how it goes, folks. Let's start with Mr. Sepulveda. The question at the moment is on the screen, and it is, downtown renewal was officially a 44-year, multi-million-dollar project of the former redevelopment agency. What would be your top goals to revitalize downtown in a 4-year term with the current budget? We're going to start with Mr. Sepulveda. He's going to give us 2 minutes worth. Then he will be critiqued by each of the other candidates for 1 minute. Then each of the other candidates will get to start with 2 minutes. So we're going to fully flesh out this question. Let's start with Mr. Sepulveda.
Great, thank you very much. First off, unfortunately, the downtown redevelopment has been started and not really completed. The vision really wasn't there. The first thing I would do is to create a strong downtown committee to support and implement the Congress of New Urbanism proposal, the charrette. Streamline the permitting process, change the zoning to allow for mixed use, and to revisit our impact fees. Street infrastructure, making it pedestrian friendly, so we're building around the people versus cars. Infill empty lots and city-owned buildings with mixed use. The urbanization of the downtown will drive safety because we have more eyes on the streets and a sense of pride in our community. So it's about creating that financial viability for businesses to want to be here, because they're going to have a captive audience, people that live within that community that they're going to be shopping. And I believe that's what we need to do in order to move this project forward and see the downtown for what it can be. There are other cities that have modeled it. You have out in Pasadena as well, downtown. So we can do the same, and I think we have the infrastructure right now. We have the bare bones that we need for the city for us to move it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sepulveda. Mr. Lopez, take 1 minute if you would, sir, and give us your ideas about what you heard.
Is this in response or is this for?
In response, you'll get your 2 minutes in just
Perfect.
after we get through everybody.
We're trying to figure this out.
Me too.
I think that the concern that everybody has is exactly how we're going to do it, right? Clearly we all have ideas. Some of us have a little bit better understanding in terms of the organization of the city, the resources, the capacity that we have or that we don't have at this moment. And I think that what residents are feeling is frustration for so many different reasons. We know that it's been a 44-year plan in the making, and we haven't seen anything other than procrastination, lost opportunities, and loss of momentum. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about specifically of how you would look to accomplish this, given some of your background and your experience.
Great,
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Mr. Flynn, your 1 minute, sir.
So, I think that Mr. Sepulveda brings some great experience here to a dialogue. And what I look forward to here is that we're discussing ideas and our perhaps different ideas about the future, not just of Oxnard, but specifically downtown. And I like what he has to say. I like the fact that we have to get the private sector involved more than the public sector. And it could be argued that the former redevelopment agency, again, a public sector agency that was eliminated by Governor Brown, that too many eggs were in one basket, and that we relied on this redevelopment agency to do all the work for us. Well, that didn't happen. And in 2008, we started with the theater, the recession came, and it stalled the downtown's renaissance. So I support Mr. Sepulveda's ideas, and he has a lot of good ideas, and I hope he joins me once I'm re-elected. I need his help.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. All right, so I think I can keep track of this. Let's go back to you, Mr. Lopez. 2 minutes on the same question. If you'd like me to read it again, I'd be happy to do that.
If you could, please.
All right. Downtown renewal is officially a 44-year, multi-million-dollar project of the former redevelopment agency. What would be your top goals to revitalize downtown in a 4-year term with the current budget?
Perfect. I do appreciate the fact that we did have the charrette come through Oxnard. I think that we saw, again, tremendous opportunity to bring people together, stakeholders, business owners, and everyday community members that want to see our downtown thrive. The charrette produced the final report with recommendations, and what we've seen has been, like I said, dilly-dally delay. We've seen procrastination, we've seen just opportunities pass us, and a loss of not seizing momentum, and that's what we need. In terms of what I would propose, it would actually be to convene an ad hoc advisory committee, including the ODMD, downtowners, community members, and other stakeholders, and give them a 90-day period to be able to provide thoughtful recommendations on how the program of the $6 million that we received in the settlement could be put to use to really spur new revenues and new opportunities. It takes money to make money. This represents for us the last opportunity to really leverage funds to stimulate investment once again downtown, and this group could also serve as an ongoing advisory committee for downtown. Second, I'd really like to spend some time updating our downtown strategic plan. There has been some movement in this area, but with no timelines and no benchmarks, and we need a guiding model to really move us forward and keep us accountable. Third, I would prioritize the divestment or the retention of the CDC-owned properties and assets. We don't have the capacity right now to do more with it, so we need to decide which way we want to move forward. And lastly, I would task the city manager as well as the economic development director to really target specific local businesses and investors to bring them to downtown Oxnard to provide quarterly updates to the city council, and in me, they would find a partner to really move this plan forward.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Mr. Flynn, could you give us a 1-minute sense of what you just heard?
Well, I'm not against ad hoc committees. Sometimes they're productive, other times they're not, they don't turn out results. I think that if actually we could just capture Mr. Lopez's energy, which he has a tremendous amount of energy and it's very positive, if we could capture that energy and with others, really focus on taking years of no investors coming into the downtown. We have to attract private investors, right? The world turns with money, and money has been absent from the downtown. But it does take a lot of enthusiasm. It takes a lot of energy. And McGill has a lot of enthusiasm. He has a lot of energy, and I hope we can capture that. I'm inspired by what he had to say, and McGill, I hope you join me also when I get reelected.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. And 1 minute to you, sir, Mr. Sepulveda.
Sure. Well, Miguel, I think you have a lot of great ideas. Don't get me wrong. The only concern I would have is that obviously it requires leadership and business experience, because you have to know how to speak with the business community. At the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to make this downtown redevelopment truly thrive and really work. And I believe that's where I come in. That's where my strengths are. So just like Flynn, I look forward to having all two of you on my staff and hopefully supporting me someday.
Thank you, Mr. Sepulveda. Mr. Flynn, you get your 2 minutes, and then we'll hear what the other gentlemen have to say about it.
Several months ago, the City Council brought the Congress for New Urbanism to the city, and McGill had mentioned the charrette. A charrette is a process that really is centered around public participation, and it brings all the stakeholders together into one room. And there were architects, real estate developers, finance people, loan agents, it's just the whole gamut of individuals. They came up with 7 major concepts. 7 major concepts. Those concepts are going to be presented once again to the City Council on the 18th of October. But what's important now is that we take those concepts and some of the renditions that they had on the 3rd Street Bridge, on new buildings on Oxnard Boulevard, and a variety of things that they did. And we need to come up with a vision that people can see. I'm a teacher, and I know that most of my students are visual learners. People cannot grasp 7 ideas until they're actually turned into a model. So right in the lobby of City Hall, right outside of the HR room, there's a model of the City Center complex. And I think that what we need to do is take these 7 concepts, which will come again to the City Council on the 18th of October. We need to take these concepts and we need to create a vision. We need to create a competition of the best architects in the state of California. And those architects will take those 7 ideas and the input from the City Council, and they'll put together a rendition of this new visionary downtown. But make no mistake about it. This City Council, under my leadership as mayor, is determined to do something now with the downtown. And that will happen with your participation. Be there on October 18th, because we will join hands together. We're going to make this happen. There's more enthusiasm, there's more energy, and there's more hope than at any other time, arguably, in Oxnard's history over the downtown.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. Let's work it backwards from there. Mr. Lopez, it's to you, sir. 1 minute. What do you think?
Perfect. Well, I think actions speak louder than words. We have had 4 years of the current administration really, like I said, just prolong, procrastinate, and really not seize the momentum and the energy that it takes. We have a lot of natural resources. We have a lot of very passionate people who care deeply for this community, including myself. And quite frankly, I think people are frustrated. People are disappointed, not only with our government at the highest of levels, but all the way down to the local level. We need a leader who has the ability, who has a track record of bringing people together, diverse perspectives, diverse stakeholders, to really work together. I'll tell you what, the city is short over 150 positions right now. That translates to over 7,600 hours of public services that are not being delivered every week. Every week. We need to do more to bring people together, because at the end of the day, the city as it stands now is not going to be able to do it alone. We're all going to need to roll up our sleeves at the end of the day. We're going to need to bring people together from north, south, east, and west, and really develop a community that we can all be proud of.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Mr. Sepulveda, your 1 minute, sir.
All right, I'll make this fairly quick. First off, Tim, I'm glad that this meeting is taking place on the 18th, and I will be there, see whatever I can do to help, right? I'm just kind of curious about the timing, why it took so long for this to happen, and we are going into an election. Not that there's anything there, but I'm just curious.
Thank you, Mr. Sepulveda. Go ahead.
I think that's a good point, and I'll give you the direct answer. The downtown, it's pretty obvious, has not been the top priority of the city. What's been the top priority of the city is saving the city from bankruptcy. And as I stated, the city's credit rating now is stable. So now we're on the right footing. You have to have a basis, you have to have a foundation to be able to innovate.
All right, thank you, Mr. Flynn. Let's move down the table. Just to be fair, everybody else gets whatever that was, 20-second crack. To you, Mr. Lopez, you want to take two? Mr. Flynn got an extra 20 seconds. I just want to be sure we're all fair.
And what is to respond to him now?
Sure, or whatever else you wanted to say.
Well, I'll tell you that, quite frankly, we need, the challenges are many. I'll tell you that. The challenges in this community are many. We need someone who can walk, talk, chew gum, and think at the same time, And quite frankly, I will tell you that we need someone who's going to be able to galvanize, to inspire, to motivate, and really guide us all forward. The challenges are many, and quite frankly, with the budget, I do agree. We need to have our financial house in order, but to that end, evidence suggests that, quite frankly, this was all a manufactured financial crisis. Again, we talk about the credit rating now being stable. There's a lot of questions around that. We are the second city since Bell, California, that we all know about to go through this type of investigation.
Now I have to stop you,
not clear yet.
Mr. Lopez, thank you, sir. Mr. Sepulveda, to you.
I'm a man of few words, but actions speak louder than words, and that's what I'm about. I'm about action, not words, so I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Did we get through that question? Thank you all. All right, I think it's a format that we might be able to make work, and let's keep working at it. All right, so we're going to do 2 minutes. Let's see, we're going to start now with Mr. Lopez on the second question, and then each of the other candidates will have an opportunity to respond in 1 minute segments. All right, here we go. Question number 2. Give us your elevator pitch. We've got 2 minutes as a tall building, okay? To attract new businesses to downtown Oxnard. How are you going to do that in 2 minutes?
Perfect. I'm first of all going to look at all of you as investors. And so to that, let me tell you that downtown Oxnard is a diamond in the rough. It represents an opportunity for all of you investors to provide a niche. It provides a niche for neighborhood commercial services, an urban residential living, and within a richly diverse community. For you, it is a ground level opportunity. I tell you, take advantage of it first because it will pay dividends. Now let me tell you a little bit about Oxnard. We are the 19th largest city in California, and we are a strong economic player. I'll tell you that we are centrally located between Los Angeles and Santa Barbara, right next to Malibu. Santa Barbara, some of which people refer to as the French Riviera of the West. We are miles away from the newest CSU campus with Kelsey Channel Islands, and our population is over 200,000 people. What does that mean to you? It really means that we have a community of hard-working people, some of the hardest working people. And for you, it also means tremendous opportunity and business. We are known for our strawberries and so much more. Our location, our weather, which has been a little unseasonal the last 2 days, as well as a major transportation hub. We have Amtrak, we have a Union Pacific, Metrolink, Greyhound, and a deep water port that is the largest between LA and Santa Barbara that really opens the door to the global economy. We are an archway to the Channel Islands. We are an entry point to California, the country, and we also have an opportunity to be a larger global player in this economy. So welcome to Oxnard. Let's polish up this diamond and let's create some opportunity and business here in the heart of Oxnard.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Well, Mr. Flynn, what'd you think about his elevator speech? 1 minute.
Well, there's a famous comedy by Mel Brooks, and I would just say, now who can argue with that? I think that it's going to take much more than salesmanship, but I've been a salesman many years before I got into teaching, and the previous city councils 15 years ago tried to sell the downtown, and it resulted in the theater deal, and it was a guarantee for 25 years and all kinds of things like that. So I think we're going to need much more than just salesmanship. You know, the weather and the people here sell themselves. No one needs to sell the weather of Oxnard. It's going to take dynamic leadership. It's going to take focus. It's going to take attention. And it's going to take a reprioritization of exactly what the city wants to do with a broader economic development program. It's not just about the downtown, it's about the whole city and its prosperity, and in particular, the prosperity of the residents. So I like what Miguel has to say, and his experience as a spokesperson shows. And one thing I've told him before, I've been accused of being wordy and loquacious. He has me beat.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. You think so? All right. Mr. Sepulveda, what do you think about what you heard from Mr. Lopez?
Well, first off, you both had me beat with your work. But let me just say, it's a beautiful brochure summary of Oxnard, and I'm sold. I'm gonna stay here. I'm never gonna move, and this is where I'm gonna be. I love it. Thank you. But like Tim said, it's a little bit more than just selling our natural beauty. It's about attracting businesses here to the city and ensuring that they're able to get the support that they deserve and they need so that we can streamline the processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sepulveda. All right, let's see if I can keep track of this. I think we're now to Mr. Flynn for 2 minutes.
Can you repeat the question, Richard, please?
I will certainly do that. Give us your elevator pitch to attract new business to downtown Oxnard.
Well, I don't know if I have an elevator pitch. I think I have a slogan. If I'm meeting an investor, let's say we run into each other in the elevator, and I look at them, and they look successful and ready and eager to invest money in the downtown. I'm going to say to them, when it comes to Oxnard's downtown, you better get in, because with Mayor Flynn, the downtown is going to win. So, sloganeering is fine, right? You know, that might be a catch of some kind. But what people want to know about downtown Oxnard is they want to know, if I invest money, if I take my savings, or I take the savings and the capital of other investors, is that money going to make money? People aren't going to invest unless they're convinced that they're going to make money. And so I think when they see that new vision of that downtown, when they see that the 6 redevelopment properties that we're getting ready to put on the market, what those are going to look like after the city sells those properties. We're mandated by state law to sell those properties. That we're going to bring younger people to the downtown, we're going to bring single people to the downtown, we're going to bring people to the downtown that can walk to the transportation center, which is transit-oriented development, and most importantly, we're going to bring people to the downtown, a diversity to the downtown that is going to have disposable income. If people come to the downtown, they don't have money to spend, it's not going to assist the retail. We need people with pockets. We need people that have money, that are going to spend that money downtown.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. Mr. Flynn says, with Flynn you win. What do you think about that, Mr. Sepulveda? You get 1 minute.
Well, Tim, with all due respect, I think if we would have won, we would have won already. But you know, at the end of the day, it's about you know, what do we do to attract those businesses? And you said a lot of the right buzzwords. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's if you're going to open up a business in downtown, you have to be able to be profitable. If you can't be profitable, then you're not going to open up. But before we can even talk about that, we have to make the process easy for somebody to open up. And we have to streamline that, and that's what we have to really look at. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sepulveda. Now back to you, Mr. Lopez. 1 minute. What do you think about what Mayor Flynn said?
I have to agree with my friend right here to the right that if with Flynn you win, we would have already won. I'll tell you that I've talked with so many different business owners and investors from all over our community. I've met with folks and members from the Oxnard Chamber. I've met with folks who are members of EDCO. They have expressed their frustration simply with the city's inability to process their plans. Not even get their permits, but just process their plans. It takes up to 8 months to just get their plans approved. We need to do better. We must do better. And when I'm mayor, we will do better.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Now back to you, Mr. Sepulveda. You get your 2 minutes. This is your elevator pitch to attract new businesses to downtown Oxnard.
All right, this is going to be very difficult to do, but I'll keep it brief. The city of Oxnard is the largest economy and has the largest population in Ventura County. We have a culturally diverse community. My personal business experience working with the Fortune 500 companies has proven that Oxnard is a profitable location. You can open up a business here and you will do extremely well. With my experience with PetSmart and Ross and opening up stores, running them here, they're very profitable businesses. They do extremely well. We have a well-educated workforce here that is dedicated and will do what it takes for those businesses to survive and to do well, to thrive. What we have to do here in Oxnard is continue or work towards making the permitting process easy so that businesses can open up in our community and especially in our downtown. We really have to embrace the revitalization of the downtown area. And I believe that Oxnard is a very strong economy, and as long as you have the right business model, you will succeed because the customer base is here. The dollars are here. People are willing to spend, but we just have to make it so that they want to come to the downtown area. And that's going to drive change, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And if we think that we're going to drive different results with what we've done in the past, we're wrong. It's a mistake.
Thank you, Mr. Sepulveda. Well, he's taking us to the top floor with his elevator pitch. What do you think about it, Mr. Lopez?
You know, they say that the first 10 seconds are perhaps the most important, and I can't say that I was necessarily sold or even inspired. I do appreciate his background in business. I think it's a tremendous asset. Clearly an accomplished record, and one that I too will look for advice after I am elected your mayor. But quite frankly, we need to really go out there and reach out to business partners, stakeholders, and investors who are going to have an appreciation for the richness of our cultural diversity here. Businesses that are a good fit for this community, right? And that's when we will be able to see the city and downtown thrive. We really need to revisit also the housing element, the housing plan for downtown. What has made other parts successful, like Seabridge as a master plan award-winning community, and also River Park, is that they have the residential density to support the businesses. We don't have that here downtown, and that's going to be centrally important also to really develop, mixed-use housing to really support the businesses so that our downtown can not only thrive, but be one that we are all proud of and happy to support.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Mr. Flynn, 1 minute about that elevator pitch.
Well, I'd just like to add to it. I'd like to add that what we know has worked and is working in Oxnard is the collection at River Park. It's wildly successful. And ironically enough, the collection has presented a real challenge for the downtown. First and foremost, I was the only city councilman to vote against the exclusive theater agreement for the downtown, because I believe that we needed to get this theater up and running before we allowed theaters in other places. But what do we really want to see? Why don't we use the collection as an example of what we want to see? I would like to see another rendition of the collection, but a more authentic version of the collection. We know it's going to be very difficult to attract top A accounts to the downtown and the way that River Park is there. That is going to be very challenging. And in this case, it's going to be mom and pop shops that bring an authentic alternative to what is successful at the collection.
Thank you, Mayor Flynn. Okay, well, I think we got through that question. Everybody got their time? Everybody happy with that? Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, everybody. This is question number 3, and I think we'll start with Mayor Flynn. We'll get 2 minutes, Mayor Flynn, and then each of you will have 1 minute to respond. The question is, what do you think are the major challenges impeding downtown development, and what strategies would you propose to stimulate private investment? Mayor Flynn?
So part of the plan for the rebirth of the downtown, or a resuscitation of the rebirth of the downtown, is to make sure that the zoning downtown and the regulatory environment facilitate the private sector. When the private sector sees that the city has its act together with rezoning the downtown, when the private sector sees that the city actually has a plan that people can, that they can see, that they can visualize, when the private sector sees that there's a pent-up demand here in this downtown that will offer something that offered residents when I grew up here in the downtown. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, Oxnard's downtown was the #1 downtown in Ventura County. And we've seen our neighbors in nearby cities do a good job with downtowns, like Ventura. Ventura has a nice downtown. And one of the things that Ventura did is they kept all of those older buildings, the Bank of Italy building and all of those authentic buildings. Well, we had the Bank of A. Levy, or the former Bank of A. Levy, and a great job has been done with that building. But we need to bring back that type of grandeur to the downtown. We need to bring back to the downtown a vision that people can get their hands around. And most importantly, this was the problem when the theater went in 2008, is that investors didn't want to come into the downtown unless they're guaranteed a profit. So a 25-year deal, I had nothing to do with that. So we're going to have to make sure that we have an environment that is going to produce exactly what it is that we want to see.
Thank you, Mayor Flynn. Let's take 1 minute. Let's start with Mr. Sepulveda.
Well, Tim, I agree with you. You said it extremely well. At the end of the day, it's about making it viable for businesses to be here, about creating those opportunities. And in order to do that, it's really about streamlining the permitting process. And my question, again, because you've been in office, is why haven't we done that?
It's a good question. I'll just answer it. It has not been a top priority. And it's great in election time to say it should have been a top priority. It hasn't. It's obvious because it hasn't been done, right? So now we're ready to do it, and it's not because it's election time or the forum. The city now has just over $6 million that we just settled from a lawsuit. A $6 million pool that the city council, once again, after the 18th, that we're going to determine, given input from the public and from the stakeholders, how is that money going to be used to facilitate this growth that we're talking about.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Flynn. I want to be sure each of you get the extra time that he just got. So go ahead, respond as you can, Mr. Sepulveda.
I'm fine, thank you.
Ms. Lopez?
The mayor says that it has nothing to do with elections, yet he's had the opportunity 2 cycles the last 4 years, and we've heard something similar. The lawsuit and the settlement of $6.5 million isn't anything new. We've actually had it for a couple years, and it's been there in the bank, gathering and growing interest. Quite frankly, what we need is bold leadership. Like I said, the problems that our community is facing are many, and what we need is a leader who can galvanize an entire community, bring out the best of their workforce. One of the things that I learned in graduate school with some of the courses that I took at the business school was that the greatest asset of any organization or of any business are its members or its employees. Okay. We are not supporting our employees and our residents enough to be able to bring what's best of our community forward. And in my administration,
I haven't cut you on. Thank you very much. Okay, so we've gotten our 2 minutes, everybody. Okay, we're going to start. You get your 2 minutes now, Mr. Sepulveda. Remember the question?
I believe so. Okay, the largest hurdle with downtown development has been the lack of vision to embrace mixed-use development, to allow commercial and residential. We have to change our zoning and reevaluate the current impact fees that we have. We need to make this a business-friendly environment for all entrepreneurs and companies that want to come to the downtown area. Mixed use will create a sense of community and will provide a dedicated customer base. When the locals shop and dine where they live, then at the end of the day, all the businesses will prosper. So we need to create that type of an environment here within our downtown area. So the largest hurdles that I have seen is just the fact that we have not taken the initiative or made it a priority to change the zoning. We know what the problems are. We just haven't addressed it and we haven't fixed it. And that to me would be concerning.
Thank you, Mr. Sepulveda. That was his 2 minutes. Each of you get a 1-minute response. Mr. Lopez.
It's always easy to identify the problems. What's difficult oftentimes is to be able to provide any viable solutions to address those challenges. I'll tell you that, in terms of the strategy, I think that's going to be the most important part. What ideas do the candidates have to be able to move us forward? And so to that end, I really would be interested in hearing more from both of my friends to the left and the right about what strategy specifically. Yes, we've all identified how difficult it is to simply get the permit and approval process. And businesses want to be open in a matter of months, 6 months at most. It's taking 8 months or longer simply to get their plans approved. We need to streamline and clean house and really embrace technology. There's no reason why we cannot submit plans electronically so that it facilitates the process so that we don't have to rely on it taking so long when businesses and investors expect more and exceptional service.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Mayor Flynn.
Did you just say Mayor Lopez?
I knew him once.
And it sounded good, didn't it?
Mayor Flynn, please take it away.
Okay, I just note that we did have a former Mayor Lopez, and I don't think he's here this evening, but I applaud him and his efforts. There's not going to be anything that's immediate, and so a lot of times, we're impatient. I work with students on a daily basis, and it's the number one thing as a teacher that you have to have patience. And Miguel had pointed out that he's spoken to many people that are frustrated. I mean, have you ever gone over to Vince Barron's Cleaners before? I mean, and you want to speak with somebody that's frustrated. I have to wear like an army helmet to go over there and drop off my dry cleaning. I think that we are right now on it. And the 18th, we're going to see change.
Okay,
People asking for
we'll have
change.
to see
We're
that on
gonna
the
see it
18th. Thank you. Mayor Flynn, thank you, sir. All right, so 2, 1, 1. All right, are we there? We have one more 2-minute, and that's yours, Mr. Flynn. Oh, I'm sorry, it's yours, Mr. Lopez.
You can go ahead.
No, let's start. He's done his 2 minutes on the issue of the impediments to investment downtown.
I think that the major challenges from what I've heard from folks in terms of what is impending private investment in downtown is the benign neglect of city leadership that has not been focused on the strategic issues confronting our downtown, and those two are complex. There has to be collaboration between downtown, businesses, property owners, and a city champion for downtown. I will tell you that there is no such champion right now. This has to be a priority of an entire city council. We've seen extended city council meetings that drag on until 2 in the morning. That is not a cohesive city council that's working together, and that's what we need. To date, it has not been one of the mayor's priorities for the last 4 years in office, arguably longer. We really need to bring people together for public-private partnerships, and I have experience doing so. I mentioned having worked at the highest levels of government under one of the most difficult, bureaucratic, and politicized, polarizing times. To be able to advance what some of our priorities were, we actually needed to seek public-private partnerships because we all have a vested interest in a safer, stronger, not only prosperous nation, but prosperous and thriving community. I have that experience to bring people to the table, diverse perspectives, and really find that gray spot that is a win-win-win for all parties involved. public-private partnerships will be essential to really fill some of the gaps, especially when it comes to funding and development that we simply don't have here in the city. Some of the topics for tonight that we're going to be discussed are also fall under this, which is having a downtown vision, a successful and robust economic development like we had in the past, previous to Mayor Flynn's tenure, and also embrace more cultural arts and the nighttime economy that we've seen brings the energy and monies to downtown with a taco truck Thursdays, as well as some of the other ideas that were discussed in the earlier plenary. And so I look forward to being that champion for downtown. I look forward to working with the Oxnard District Management Group, business owners, and all stakeholders and community members to really move us forward.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. 1 minute each now. What do you think you heard there, Mr. Flynn?
Well, I hear that he's passionate, and I hear that he has some really good ideas for the city, and that the community needs this type of energy. The community needs people to get involved, and we're seeing that here today, and we need the community to believe in the city, believe in Oxnard, believe in the mayor, believe in the city council, believe the city manager, believe that things can get done. I'm hopeful.
To you, Mr. Spoda, 1 minute.
Let me just say that was a lot to follow. I kind of got lost a little bit there, but you know, at the end of the day, it really comes down to the business experience, the knowledge, and being able to work with the business community and drive them towards that common goal. It is about working with city council. It is about providing that strong leadership that's required to bring people together. I completely agree with that, because we have to move the city forward. We know what the issues are. We've seen the downtown. We know what it can be. We've seen that beautiful picture of what it should be and what it must be. So let's really focus on driving that vision forward, and that's where our energy needs to lie. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spoda. You got something you wanted to add there, Mr. Lopez?
Do I get the 30 seconds? That
Well, we'll give you 20. How about that? And then everybody else gets to respond.
Well, I'd like to thank the mayor for that vote of confidence, and it really sounded like a strong endorsement of my candidacy. And to my friend on the right, I also want to maybe highlight and encourage him to visit my website at www.miguellopezformayor.com.
To you, Mr. Flynn.
I'm not going to ask you to repeat that again.
Mr. Sepulveda, do you have a website?
I do, but I'm okay. I'm not self-promoting.
I just want to make everybody's got the same time. Back to you, Mr. Flynn. You got 2 minutes on the homelessness issue, if you would. Homelessness is a major quality of life and public safety issue in our community. Please share your philosophy on the issue and the ideas to end homelessness.
Homelessness, as we know, is one of the most perplexing, difficult issues anywhere in the country to solve. I lived in San Francisco, California for 4 years. I go back to San Francisco, and it seems like the problem is getting worse in San Francisco. And the problem has gotten worse here in Oxnard. The problem is worse in Ventura. There are 1,800 homeless people in Ventura County, and 2/3 of the homeless are in Oxnard and Ventura, ostensibly because of the climate. We know that people that are chronically homeless oftentimes suffer from mental illness, and it's not treated. That is a travesty in this great nation. I believe very much that we have faith-based organizations and we have non-faith-based organizations that are providing services that the city needs to contribute more, so that, as an example, Community Action, which is on 5th Street, and the Rescue Mission, which is just around the corner here, that when individuals leave the Rescue Mission early in the morning and they go over to Community Action, that we need to find a way to get funding to Community Action to continue to provide social services, showers, meals, access to computers, so that the homeless have a place to go. But most importantly, it's just not pushing them around. We got to solve their issues. We got to help them and join hands in helping them so that the homeless issue isn't going to in any way detract from the downtown renaissance.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. All right, 1 minute each to comment on what you heard from Mr. Flynn about homelessness. Going back to you, Mr. Sepulveda.
Well, Tim, you're absolutely right. Homelessness is a big issue, not just here, but throughout the United States and everywhere else. One of the things that I would ask is, what has your administration done to address it, knowing that it is an issue? If you look at the growing population of homelessness, I just haven't seen a decline in it.
Mr. Lopez?
I echo Mr. Sepulveda's words, and I really want to get some information about what it is that he's championed, advocated for, or even advanced. I look at some of my really good friends here in the room with Ms. Peggy Rivera, Darlene Miller, her husband Sal Gonzalez, and Richard over here. These are some of the angels in our community amongst us who have tried, who care so passionately about helping our most vulnerable communities and the most vulnerable individuals within our community. Last year, we really came up to the wire, really up to the end of the coldest winter that we've had in some time, and we're able to pull the resources with faith-based organizations, with nonprofit organizations, the county who threw in some money, but we need a champion who's going to be working with our angels within our community, our homeless commission, to be prepared and have a sustainable program that will be able to help the most vulnerable amongst us. I'll tell you that many of us in this room are within one paycheck or one injury away from becoming homeless. We need to be more compassionate and let that shine.
Mr. Francis, just a quick response, because Mr. Sepulveda did ask a great question, what have you done? Number one, I appointed every member to the current Homeless Commission. That Homeless Commission has done an outstanding job, and I think brought the City Council around to more proactive leadership. Number two, and Mr. Lopez should know this because he used to work for the police department. We oversaw the hiring of the first police officer, current officer, that would be specifically devoted just to the homeless.
Okay, you're going to get a whole minute here in just a few minutes. We're going to get back to Mr. Sepulveda. I do want each of you to have a chance to respond to Mayor Flynn's comments, given the fact that he used some extra time. Mr. Sepulveda?
Well, homelessness obviously is a very critical issue for us as a city. This is an issue that isn't just about giving somebody a roof for a day or a hot meal. It's about going after what I would consider the root cause. The presenting problem is that they're homeless. So the root cause is what is driving the homelessness. And in many cases, is that drug addiction? Is it mental health? Are we able to provide the services for them in order for them to get that assistance that they need?
Okay, Mr. Lopez, can you take just a few seconds, 20 seconds maybe, to respond to what you heard from Mr. Flynn?
Mr. Flynn mentioned the hiring of a homeless liaison officer, and I'll tell you that 2 years ago, it's been 2 years ago, or his entire last term, when he submitted recommendations to the city attorney, to act on. The mayor and the city council have 2 employees that report to them, the city manager and the city attorney, and I get that they have had a lot of challenges, but we haven't seen anything acted on the recommendations that this officer has brought forward.
Thank you. Now, 2 minutes to you, Mr. Sepulveda, and we're back. We're still on the homelessness question. So I'm going to ask you to spend the 2 minutes if you want, and each of the other gentlemen will have a chance to respond.
All right, well, I pretty much already started there. So, homelessness, of course, we know it's a big issue throughout the city. And like I was saying earlier, it's a lot deeper of a problem than just having people out there that don't have a place to live. It is a humanitarian issue. And one of the things that I would look at is that we have to go after the root causes, mental health, like I said earlier, drug addiction issues, continue to work with faith and non-faith-based organizations to help provide the services that they need, teaming up with our law enforcement, and we need to get, more importantly, not just 1 or 2 law enforcement officers, we need to really work on training all of our law enforcement officers to understand the issues that are taking place in our community with the homeless, so that we can steer them in the right direction for those services, so that we can be that liaison that's required to get them what they need and get them that help. It's not about taking them to jail, arresting them. It's not about taking them out of that area. It's about getting them solutions, getting them the help they need. And that's what we need to do. There's more power in numbers than there isn't just 1 or 2 officers out there.
Thank you, Mr. Sepulveda. You know the drill. Back to you, Mr. Lopez.
I got this. So I'll tell you that our officers have more than enough to do. In the last budget that the city adopted with the support of Mayor Flynn, we actually saw the elimination of 18 full-time officers. That's over 760 hours of less active patrol and policing that we have per week. 760 hours of less active policing that we have per week, and that's why we've seen an increase in crime. So to task our police officers who are already so stretched with additional responsibilities, quite frankly, they need a little bit more support, not only with training, as my friend Mr. Sepulveda said, but quite frankly, just in terms of resources. They were hit hard with also a budget decrease, but quite frankly, where we need to shift our attention is not putting the responsibility on our law enforcement. They will be a part of the equation, but quite frankly, we need to inspire our own community more, empower and support our homeless commission to do the great work that they've been called to do. They are some of the most giving, thoughtful, caring people that we have, and we just need to, again, have a champion that will work with them, bring the platform and the spotlight of their office to be able to really address the difficult problem that we have ahead of us.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. And Mr. Flynn, 1 minute to you to respond to Mr. Sepulveda.
The good thing is that the city of Oxnard did not lay off one employee during the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. Neighboring Ventura closed a fire station. Neighboring Ventura did have layoffs. They had over 100 layoffs in the city of Ventura. And arguably, the city should have done the same thing, because part of the financial crisis that we faced in the last 2 years is dealing with the fact that those cuts were not made as a result of the Great Recession. So when it comes to police and fire, there is no community anywhere in Ventura County that spends more as a percentage of its budget. 66% of our general fund budget of $119 million is spent on fire and police, and there's no community that comes close. Ventura is an example, 52%. We spend 66%, and that's a 3-to-1 ratio of police versus fire. In other cities, it's usually 2-to-1. In other words, double for police than fire. We spend 3 times more for police than we spend for fire.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. All right, so 2 minutes to you, Mr. Lopez.
Was it a minute?
I'm sorry?
Is it a minute response? Or? Oh,
I think we're 2 minutes to you and 1 minute to each of them.
perfect.
If I'm keeping track, and I don't promise.
Certainly.
All right.
Okay, perfect. You know, we don't need to spend more, we need to spend smarter. You know, and so to that end, I'll tell you that what is draining our general fund and these budgets, quite frankly, is the mandated overtime, where we have to pay people more than their given salary. We need to invest in our HR department to really bring our organization to capacity. But in terms of homelessness, we have to look at what we have done. You know, last year we brought in partnership, I should say, with the manager at the city of Ventura. I understand he left because he was frustrated. He simply could not work with our leadership to really do the important work that he was tasked to do. We need to, quite frankly, look at what neighboring cities around us are doing that has been successful. Not that long ago, a couple months ago, Mayor Garcetti in LA developed and released a strong plan to address homelessness in the city of Los Angeles. I'm not saying we are LA, but we can scale it down to what will work for us. I've had the opportunity to travel this country far and wide for business and for personal reasons, and I've seen what other communities have done. Point example, Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'll tell you there that a strong mayor there actually created a program that would, quite frankly, a basic, simple idea where he would approach homeless individuals and, quite frankly, offer them, hire them to do some work for the day. Homeless individuals are so dispirited because of the current situation, and quite frankly, we need to provide additional opportunities to help them gain the confidence and give them the opportunity to enter our workforce again. We need to offer them opportunities to work with the city in many respects like City Court does to beautify our city. So rather than be what people would perceive as a hindrance or an eyesore, we need to empower them, give them day jobs, pay them minimum wage, work with local community-based organizations to provide them additional resources, a meal, and give them the confidence and the skills. I'll tell you that in Albuquerque, what they've seen has been hundreds of homeless individuals who are now transitioned back to full-time employment. Let's look at what's working in communities similar to Oxnard and bring that here and work together to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Now, we've just about finished this question. To you, Mr. Flynn, 1 minute, and then to you, Mr. Sepulveda, again, 1 minute.
Well, I'm in Mr. Sepulveda's camp at this point right now. I know that Mr. Lopez said many things, and I want to say that more than anything else, when it comes to this dialogue and this discussion, that we're going to have a lot more time in the next couple of weeks to really get these ideas out. And I want to compliment both of these gentlemen for coming up with excellent ideas, coming up with excellent solutions, and that's my only response.
Thank you, Mayor Flynn. Mr. Sepulveda, please.
Very similar to Tim, I think that everyone here has brought up some great responses and great proposals. At the end of the day, it's about leadership, it's about execution, it's about seeing them through. Because you can have the best idea in the world, but if you can't execute that idea, then it was just an idea, it was just a dream. So one of the things that I would say is we have to look at the leadership qualities. You know, what background do we have? What have we done to truly drive change?
All right, folks, that finishes question number 4. Let's give them a big hand, please. Because of the format we've adopted kind of on the wing here, we've taken just a little bit more time than I expected. We have one last question to go through. We'll do it the same way, and we'll be running maybe 10, at the most 15 minutes over. And then we all want to stick around and use the facilities, and they've made a very gracious offer to be our host here tonight. So let's start again. Start all the way over again with Mr. Sepulveda to finish this out. The arts are a proven economic catalyst for downtown nationwide. What policy and strategies would you leverage to support development of a vibrant cultural arts district? To you, Mr. Sepulveda.
Great, thank you. Well, first off, we already have a great Getty Museum downtown. And we need to do is continue to expand on that. Next door, we have that building, Social Security building. Taking that building and converting it over so that we can make it into a gallery, so that we can have local artists and artists from within the county come in and display their art, whether it's photography, whether it's for those startup filmmakers that want to come in and create their own films. We have to give them a showcase, and that would be great. I think when you create an urban center, your art is going to be part of that. And we start taking their art and we start displaying it throughout the businesses in downtown so that we have a true art district, a true art area where people can appreciate it. A lot of the art and the movement that we do, it has to also be local to our area. It has to be part of our culture, Hispanic culture. You know, we cannot deny that Oxnard has a very heavy Hispanic population. And they have very talented artists, and we need to display that art. You know, can we designate walls for murals? Let's get that artwork out there. Let's make our downtown centers, downtown, a vibrant art district.
Thank you. Mr. Sepulveda, 1 minute each. To you, Mr. Lopez.
For respect for everybody's time, I'll go ahead and just yield my time.
Mayor Flynn?
I can only add to that and say that 2 years ago at Cal State Channel Islands, I went to a colloquium by a very famous actor and actually Mexican-American art collector, Cheech Marin. And he was asked by a young Latina in the audience who ostensibly was a college student at Cal State Channel Islands, Mr. Marin, you've been to Oxnard and you've seen the potential of the city of Oxnard. What's the one thing that Oxnard can do to really produce this kind of renaissance? And here's what Mr. Marin, one of the greatest collectors here nationwide of Mexican-American art, said. He said, you need one place, an incubator, where artists can go to and be creative. And that will create that kind of renaissance when it comes to art in your downtown.
Thank you, Mayor Flynn. All right, so to you, Mr. Lopez, 2 minutes.
I just want to add that arts-related activities are a relatively inexpensive way to attract and engage community in the downtown area. We only have to look at our neighbors in Ventura, Santa Monica, Los Angeles to some of the successful examples of what they've been able to do to really bring more pedestrian traffic and more business to their downtown areas. Some examples of that, quite frankly, are doing the art walks once a month. Businesses open, extended hours, boutiques, shops, all our businesses downtown, whether it's A Street, next month B Street, third month C Street, and just really bring people together. We have so many resources that we are simply not taking advantage of. One, the Carnegie Museum, who could be able to get some, I'll say touring exhibits here into town. We have great relations with people at the Getty out of Los Angeles who have some tremendous artwork that I'm sure they would be able to lend to bring some of this, I'll say, arts capital here to our Oxnard community to inspire folks when it comes with the arts. We also can take advantage of some of our nearby neighbors. UC Santa Barbara, who is my current employer, also has a great museum on campus, as well as UCLA with the Fowler and the Hammer Museum. Let's reach out to those local nearby partners who would be interested in not only bringing art, but the education and the cultural richness that art can bring to a community to inspire an entire community. We have had an arts commission, with the city under Mayor Flynn's leadership, who he also appointed, and I think that, again, with strong, bold leadership, they will be able to do more. Again, looking at my background, my experience, my networks, I have those contacts and that ability to reach out to some of our nearby partners to bring some of these resources here to the heart of Oxnard.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Mr. Flynn, to you, sir. What do you think?
Well, we have to actually celebrate our accomplishments. Armando Lopez, for one, had at one point 2 thriving art galleries in the downtown. And I felt that, anyway, he really took a risk. He probably lost a lot of money on that. I don't know, I haven't asked him if he lost money, but that really, if we could magnify that, he had 2 studios at 2 different places around Plaza Park. And we need to thank Patrick in particular, who started the International Film Festival. We have an International Film Festival downtown that has some of the best movies anywhere in the world shown right here at the downtown theater.
Thank you. George.
Did I say Patrick?
Yes.
George, I'm sorry, George Sandoval.
I wouldn't have corrected you, but he's here.
Hope he doesn't get mad.
All right, let's see, where are we? We got 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes to you, Mr. Flynn. We're going to start with you.
So, Miguel had alluded to examples that are nearby. And, the Ventura Avenue, for one, I don't know if people have been to the Ventura Avenue to actually see the kind of explosion of art there. It hasn't really made its way all the way to the downtown, but it's very close to doing so. And, the art district in downtown Los Angeles, to me, it's just an absolute miracle that many of these neighborhoods, these warehouses were abandoned, and today it is one of the most happening, thriving art districts anywhere in the United States, arguably anywhere in the world. And I think we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can take the advice from people that have been successful. I mentioned Mr. Marin earlier. We can take their advice. We can take the advice of those people in downtown Los Angeles that have started this renaissance there with art, and they actually call it the art district. It's a miracle.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. 1 minute each to you, gentlemen, starting with you, Mr. Sepulveda.
I'm good, thank you.
Let's bring it home. Mr. Lopez.
Let's do it. I just want to add that we only have to look at neighboring communities, like I mentioned, of Ventura, Santa Barbara, Santa Monica, and others to see some successful examples. The city has a capable cultural staff. Quite frankly, they just need to be empowered and supported. Some of the downtown settlement money, for example, the $6.5 million that we talked about earlier, could and should be set aside as seed money to launch a downtown arts program, such as an Art Sunday in the Park. evening art walks, and the like. Really engage our youth like we have historically, get into the classrooms, and really bring back art education into our schools. Not only should we be focusing on STEM education, the science, technology, engineering, and math, but quite frankly, we've seen the acronym grow to now be STEAM. Science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. It's all about the creativity and really trying to find new discoveries, and quite frankly, the arts can empower an entire community.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take a point of personal pride, I guess. My office is here in downtown. My business is in downtown Oxnard. But I live in Ventura, and I have to tell you, I'm extremely jealous at the quality of candidates you guys have. Let's give them a big hand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Francis.
Thank you.
My best friend since 1992, and also my boss. I want to thank the candidates. It's true what Richard says. We have a challenge because you guys are excellent candidates for the city of Oxnard. I applaud each and every one of you for being here, all of you for attending. If you want to make a difference, it starts here. Casa Lopez, thank you. La Central Bakery, thank you. Evo Magana, thank you. Our board from ODID, thank you. I am the chair of ODID. My name is Juan Gonzalez. And I want to thank the candidates. I want to thank the candidates for City Council. And if you want to assist them and help them, go out there, grab their banners, their signs, collect some money. Also for our candidates for the mayor's office. Do your part. You heard a lot of good ideas today. Follow the person that your heart tells you is the right candidate for the city of Oxnard, because we do have a dream, we have a vision, and we're going to make it happen. Thank you very much. Please party on with Casa Lopez.